Well, we're here at Chester Football Club because it's my 10th year as club chaplain here at Chester, and it's our last day of the season, the 2022-23 season. We've already secured a playoff place. It's going to be a big crowd today, going to be a good atmosphere, and my role as chaplain has sort of developed and morphed a bit over the last 10 years, and I suppose I want you to have a look and see how it goes and what's involved.
We'll talk a bit later about what that's entailed over the last 10 years, but take us back to your own faith journey, what your upbringing was like. Were you brought up in a Christian home, and what led you to become a Christian?
Well, I was brought up in a Christian family, so I was born down in Kent in the southeast of the country, moved up with my family in 1971 to Chester, went to the local church, which my dad and mum took us to as I was youngest of 4 children, all brought up as Christians in a Christian family, very much that sort of ethos, Christian values. My dad's always been an inspiration to me, and I can still picture my dad kneeling, and I still think he does actually. He's still around, and he kneels by his bed to pray every day, and I always remember seeing that and remembering just how important that was to him. My mum and dad never put any pressure on us in terms of our own faith, but what they said is that, you know, we've got to make our own decisions. So when I was about 10 or 11, I remember going to a tent crusade. I think it was a guy called Dick Saunders, but I'm not sure. I was trying to ask my mum to remember who it was. I think it might have been Dick Saunders, or it could be someone else, but it was a tent crusade that happened in Chester, not far from the church, and in fact, I think the church we were part of put it on. And I remember going to this tent crusade where the gospel was preached. There was music, singing, gospel hymns, things like that. And I was probably 10 or 11 at the time, and even though I'd been brought up through Sunday school and to understand the scriptures and learn scriptures as a young church member, to learn, recall scriptures, which I can still remember some of them to this day. I remember sitting in this tent just outside Chester with the gospel message, thinking, actually, this is something I need to do something about. Can I say it was a massively poignant moment? Probably not, but I remember realizing that Jesus was real, that he was alive, that he died for me and my sins. And I remember at that stage, probably not fully understanding it, but making a decision to trust Jesus as my Lord and Saviour, making that personal decision to accept Jesus as a personal saviour. Even though it was a moment I remember, I always remember it. And whenever I drive past the field, the field in Chester, I can still picture that field. And when I drive past, I think about what happened at that time and how important and how life-changing that was for me. But I remember thinking, this is a decision I've got to make for me. I can't just live on my faith of my parents or my family or my friends. I've got to make this decision for myself. And best decision I ever made, probably. Did it always go smoothly from there? No, it didn't, as I'm sure people can testify. But for me, that is the moment where I can say I asked Jesus into my life, even though I know I'd known him and he'd known me before that. But that was the moment at which that decision was made. And as I say, I was about 10 or 11. And then I was baptised about 2 years later at the church we were part of. Great celebration. And that's the start of my journey of faith.
You went on to a challenging career as a police officer. Tell us how your faith helped you through that career. I know God protected you many times in some very dangerous circumstances.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, I joined the police when I was 18 3/4, so I was the youngest police officer in Cheshire Constabulary, at least for 6 months, until the next youngest one came along. I applied for the police, and it was quite a stringent process of getting in, and at every stage I just committed that to God. I hadn't done very well with my A-levels, and my academic journey had stuttered a bit, but I was focused on getting into the police. But I just said to God at every stage, if you want me to get in, help me to get through. So the application process, the aptitude tests, the fitness tests, and then there was a weekend away up in the Welsh Hills where they put us through our paces. And at every stage, I just said to God, look, if you want me to do this, help me to get through. And he did, right the way through to the final interview. And part of the final interview, I had to do a presentation on something in my life that I was passionate about. And I actually did it about being a Sunday school teacher. And thinking back, I think, I wonder what they must have thought of that. But that's what I did, because that's what I was passionate about. So I did a presentation on being a Sunday school teacher and enjoying that. And then about a month later, I got accepted into the police, went into the police service. I'd lived quite a sheltered Christian upbringing, a bit wet behind the ears, hadn't seen a dead body, hadn't seen blood, guts or gore or fighting or real aggression or violence. And I was thrown into this world where that was quite prevalent. And I think God helped me with that all the time, helped me to keep a perspective on life, helped me to keep a perspective on humanity, dealing with some of the darkest parts of humanity. And yet God gave me a compassion also in the time that I was in the police. So I'm really grateful to God for giving me that perspective, because I saw a lot of my colleagues dealt with similar things, but dealt with it in a way where they got quite bitter and twisted and cynical. And I always said to God, help me not to go that way if you can help it. So yeah, protected me through some difficult times. I tell the stories about people rushing at me with bottles, and then suddenly the bottles disappeared. And there was a story about that where God just helped me and protected me when I was about to get my head caved in. Pretty sure of that, and yet miraculously God protected me. So yeah, throughout my whole police career, my police journey, God helped me and protected me, and I hope I was able to live a life in the police that pleased and honoured Him.
Life Stories.
You couldn't have made a more drastic career change from being a police officer all those years to becoming a pastor.
Yeah.
Tell us how all that happened and what that transition was like.
Well, being a Christian, since the age of 10 or 11, going into the police as a Christian, knowing that God called me into there, but still being very strongly part of the church and on the leadership team of the church we were part of. I think God took me in another direction that I wasn't expecting, but that sense of calling began to grow towards, and I won't say full-time ministry because we're all in full-time ministry, but towards releasing myself completely full-time and stepping out of the police service. So that's what I did. I stepped into the police service, knowing God had called me, and then I stepped into the
testing 1 2 1 2 3 4.
And then stepped into being a full-time church pastor for the local church that we were part of. And
testing 1 2 1 2 3 4.
There's Cleggy doing our PA testing. So yeah, called certainly into the ministry, and loved being part of that as well until things took a different turn as well.
We'll talk about that in a moment, but how had God prepared you for this? How did your career in the police force prepare you for church leadership?
Well, I've always been a people person. I suppose I've always been a peacemaker at heart, even though in the police, when I had to fight, I would fight. If I had to get hands-on, I'd get hands-on. But I suppose in my heart, I've always been quite pastoral, and I've always been a peacemaker. So there was a sense of knowing that that's where I was to go, and use those skills that I'd learnt in the police and put them into place in a pastoral church leadership setting. The church we were part of, as you know, was City Centre Church, so we actually had quite a lot of interaction with the police still, and were able to do those kind of things and work in the city and interact with the local police as well. So I think part of the preparation was knowing how to handle people and people's situations.
So how did your path change recently from being a church leader?
Well, without going into detail, that phase of my life, as much as I was called into the police, as much as I was called into church ministry full time, then I felt that season had come to an end. circumstances came together, God orchestrated certain things, and I've actually gone back into the world of policing and security, which is quite an interesting sort of 360 turn. I'm now working as a security consultant, full-time, doing training, work around counter-terrorism work, planning and preparing, helping businesses prepare for emergencies that might happen. Again, probably being prepared for that from being a police officer, but also my work as a pastor has helped me in terms of communication, training methods, being happy to be able to stand in front of people and talk in front of people without an issue. So no issues with that at all, and very much in some ways my career path has been in three thirds: policing, full-time church ministry, and then now in terms of back into the world of policing and security again. So I would say God's hand was in all of it.
Life Stories.
What opportunities do you have today to live out your faith, share your faith in this arena?
In the workplace arena, well, I mean, I can't go into detail, but even in my work, which is largely secular with a small s, as you know, nothing is overtly secular, but it's not overtly Christian, the work that I do. But God's always given me opportunities for ministry, for sharing my faith. Actually, I've prayed with people on courses that I've run about terrorism or incident management, those sorts of things. And those situations have been what God has given me opportunities to share my faith and to share about what's really important in my life. And so even though it's a different world, the opportunities are still there, and I just thank God for them and try and take them every day.
Now we're at Chester Football Club today. What a wonderful combination, faith and football. We're both fanatical football fans for many years. You've been here at Chester Football Club as the chaplain under the group Sports Chaplaincy for 10 years now. Tell us how all that came about, first of all.
Well, since 1971, this is my hometown club, Chester FC, formerly Chester City FC. And I remember coming as a teenager with some of my friends from school and from church and coming to games at the old ground down the road called Sealand Road. About 10, 11 years ago, I was walking through the centre of Chester and thought about the football club and thought, I wonder if they've got a chaplain. And actually, I didn't even know really what a chaplain was or what a chaplain does or did. But I remember really clearly that I think the Holy Spirit put this kind of prompting in my head about being a chaplain. And so I just randomly got in touch with the club. I gave my details and said, if you're needing any spiritual support, I don't know if you've got a chaplain in place, but if you are, I'm a local church leader at that time. I'm happy to give my time. I'm happy to support the club if I can. And I heard nothing more. I just sent an email in, heard nothing more for about 6 months. And then randomly I got a call from someone who said, yeah, we got your email. We'd like you to come and talk. So I came and talked, met some of the directors. They were very keen. We had a discussion. And then I said, I'll do a bit of research. Then I found out about Sports Chaplaincy UK, which I hadn't really heard about beforehand. Got in touch with Sports Chaplaincy UK, and the three of us, Sports Chaplaincy UK, the club, and myself, made a plan to introduce myself as chaplain. Had a kind of interview with one of the directors, Richard, who you might even meet today, and I was able to just get involved and get stuck into being a chaplain, and didn't really know what it meant, didn't know what it looked like. We made it up as we went along, but I had the support of the club, had the support of Sports Chaplaincy UK, and we just made it work. And that's, I realised 10 years ago this year.
What has that involved? You were just telling me that behind you, some of these ashes have been scattered of fans and players over the years.
Yeah.
That's one of several things you've done here. Tell us a bit more about that.
Well, what I've tried to do over the years is build up trust, build up relationship, build up just build up friendship really. So the first few months, probably the first year, all I did was wander around, got to know people, built up trust, got them to trust me, got them to understand what I was about, and how I was there to serve the club rather than anything for my benefit or for my gain. So we just wandered around and just tried to find people that I could speak to and make friends with. And that's how it began to happen. Then over the years, you build up trust.
Life Stories.
And whether it's playing staff, management team, directors, fans, volunteers, and there's some brilliant volunteers right across this club, I've just tried to be available really for them. And I've worked with some families who've passed away, and we've done
for someone watching this maybe is very passionate about football,
services
that hasn't gone on your
just
faith journey
to
to
goal.
becoming a Christian.
This is our home terrace that we're standing in today, and there are I'd say buried of some
embrace the
fans
journey.
over the
You
years,
know,
and I've had the
For
privilege
me,
of working
that
with
decision I
families
made
to
all those
support
years
them,
ago,
help
which is
them,
now
get
40,
involved in their situation.
43 years
And
ago.
It's been a privilege.
It's
to
been
be
an
able to do
amazing
that.
journey.
And that's just one of the things that I do.
Sometimes I've questioned my
a
faith.
few other
Sometimes
things.
I've wondered what it really
What are
means
some
to
of
be
the
a
biggest
Christian. What
challenges
is
being a chaplain in
faith about?
an environment like
what
this?
where is God in the
think it's
world? I've
sometimes
had all
getting
those
people
questions.
to understand what you actually
But
do and what you're about.
For me, it's been the best decision I ever
as I say,
made.
for me, it's been
And when
about
a rubber
building
hits the
up trust
road and times are
relationship.
difficult, I just
I'm
say
not there to gain anything.
either I
I'm there
believe
to
this is
support,
true or I
serve,
don't
and
believe
support
it's
the
true.
club.
And I have to,
Um,
it's one or the other. There's
people
no
don't always
halfway
get
ground for me.
Most
I either
people
believe or I don't.
recognise the
And
fact that
the
you're there
decision
to
I've
add
made is that I
something
want to
positive
believe,
to the club. So I've
put my
never
trust
really
in
come
something
across
that's much bigger
any
than me,
boundaries.
much bigger than situations that I
been
face. So
new
that's what I'm
managers,
about, really.
new players,
And I would say to
new
anyone,
directors, new
take the
chairman,
decision,
whatever it is,
make
I've
that
never
decision,
had
trust
an
in
issue
Jesus.
with
It's the best thing you'll
building
ever
up
do.
that trust.
How open do you find people are to you as a chaplain among the club here?
I think they are open, but it's because I've built up trust. So for me, it's been a journey of trust and relationship over the years. So I always saw this as a long-term thing, not a short-term thing. So it's been about making sure that I have built the relationship, built the trust, and from that investment has come the opportunity to interact with people and get involved in their life. I didn't want to just come in and make some big bang, big splash. It's about under the surface. A lot of what I do is under the surface. It's not prominent. I don't look to be prominent. I've got involved with a few high-profile things for the club over the years. Like I was involved in leading a fan engagement working group where we helped to improve things like match day experience and whatever. But it's not been about being high-profile. It's about building up trust and relationship. Then you have almost the permission to get involved with people where they want you to do that. So I've not really felt much resistance. Even if people don't get it, they see me, hopefully, as a positive influence around the club.
What are your thoughts on the overall ministry of sports chaplaincy? It's growing more than ever before.
I think it's fantastic. The year that I got involved, I found out that Sports Chaplaincy UK were looking to expand their number of chaplains across all levels of the game, and they've been praying about it. And that's why I thought that day when I walked through Chester and God put this little seed in my head, I realised that God brought all those things together. Sports Chaplaincy do a brilliant job, got some good friends there, really good support across the organisation. I've not been able to be involved as much the last couple of years, but I know that they're there and I know that they can support and provide a lot of opportunities for engagement if that comes about. So I think they're brilliant and they do a great job right across all sport, not just football, but rugby, motor racing, horse racing, athletics, chaplaincy. Sports Chaplaincy UK, fantastic organisation.
Final question, Guy. What would you say is the best decision you've ever made in your life?
Wow. Well, I think the decision to marry my wife, Sheila, was a fantastic decision. I think the decision to become a Christian and give my life to Jesus was a brilliant decision. And I think the decision to try and have an attitude in life where I try and help people sounds a bit cliche, sounds a bit cheesy, but just to try and live a life that pleases God every day